I don't think you could possibly put up every career side by side and do a pro-cons list and come up with the perfect career for everybody.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Justin Harris.
It's got to be super discouraging to be getting into the real estate appraisal world right now, especially if you pay any attention to what's going on online, specifically in the social media. I see it all the time, and I want to address this idea of, is it a bad time to become a real estate appraiser? I want to pause here and remind you that we are sponsored by companies that help you to be a better real estate appraiser. First of all, where are you getting your E&O? If it's not from OREP, it's the wrong place. OREP.org is where you find out more. That's OREP.org. Alamode is the software that you should be using for your form filling. Alamode.com is where you go on the internet, or you can pick up the phone and talk to a real person at 800 Alamode. Finally, DataMaster is allowing you to save 30 to 60 minutes per report. This is technology, folks, working for you and for your betterment. It's datamasterusa.com, datamasterusa.com. Well, folks, I see it all the time. Somebody will reach out and they'll say, my kid wants to become a real estate appraiser. What should I tell them? This might be on social media or one of the forums or in a class or what have you. Anytime I'm associating with real estate appraisers and this question comes up, I guarantee it will be met with a lot of run, Forrest, run. A lot of, what are you, stupid? Would you do this again if you could go back in time? Or individuals that feel like they're simply stuck and painted into a corner. And boy, if my kid wants to get into this corner, I'm going to warn him or her to run the opposite direction. Well, folks, I want to take a little bit of a different, maybe 180 degree different approach to this today. I want to talk to you a little bit about becoming a real estate appraiser. And more specifically, is this a bad time to become a real estate appraiser? I would guess, and it's just a guess, but I would guess if I were in a conversation with another appraiser who had this attitude, the attitude or opinion that this is not a good time to get into real estate appraising, that if their kid asked them, what should I be, it would be anything but a real estate appraiser. I would guess if I had a conversation with those individuals, they would probably admit that in the past, that might have been a different answer. In the past, we had more freedom. We were paid more. We were able to better run our businesses. We didn't have to take all of the crap, if you will, that we take from the AMCs. The regulations were far less, and thus we had the ability as business owners to be able to have more liberty in the decisions that we make. And while much of that may be true, in the end, we have to ask ourselves, is this a bad industry to get into? And it's a valid question, folks, and I'll be honest with you. There have been times, and they're very few. You know me. I'm an optimist. I'm very positive. I'm very uplifting. I'm very forward-thinking when it comes to most of my life, really. But my career is no different. I will have to admit there are times when I step back and go, "What the hell am I doing?" It's usually when it's about 23 degrees outside. The snow is blowing sideways, and I'm out measuring a house. And inside I'm grumbling, thinking, what the hell am I doing out here, right? Why did I choose this as a career? And granted, there are some issues and some challenges, and I brought up several of them already today, not just appraising in the cold, or if you live in Phoenix, appraising in 110-degree heat, and trying to do as much as you possibly can on the interior with the air conditioning so you don't have to spend too much time on the outside. I get it, folks. This is not always the most comfortable job in the whole world. That being said, I have to say, and I'm just going to come down hard on this right in the beginning, I absolutely love what I do. And it's not just that I've compared it to other options and, hey, compared to being a, fill in the blank, it's a better job. And by the way, I started to say an actual job, and then I started thinking to myself, do I really want to say that job? Because that's got some ups and downs as well. I know individuals that you would look at and say, well, I'll give you one. I had an uncle who worked at the dump, the area that you go on Saturday after you cleaned up your yard with a truck full of junk, and you come, he's the guy that ran the gate, right? Some would say, well, that's That's not a profession. That's not a desirable job. I mean, he's a garbage man, right? Folks, I'm telling you, my uncle absolutely loved that. And he'd done a lot of things in his life. That was by far his favorite job, and he was perfect for it. He loved talking to the customers. He loved looking at the stuff that they brought in. It was always intriguing. He was always talking to me about the different fun things that had come through. I mean, he absolutely loved that job, and it went to this idea that you can love absolutely anything that you do. But that being said, on an overall scale, you've got, let's say you're a young 21-year-old something, and you're halfway through college, and you're looking really hard at what you want to do with your life. Or let's say you've just graduated from high school, and you're deciding, do I even go to college? There's many, many opportunities out there. And let's just say, for kicks and giggles, that you know of, are familiar with somebody who is, or just the career of real estate appraisal. And that's one of the, 6 half dozen things that you're considering being. I'm going to be a doctor, a lawyer, a lifeguard, a chef, a taxi driver, or a real estate appraiser. And you're considering the pros and cons of each of these things. So the question on the table is it a bad time to become a real estate appraiser? I'm going to answer that question when we get back from the break, but first I want to pause here and remind you of some great things that will allow you as a real estate appraiser to be better at what you do. One of the things is to be able to sleep well at night knowing that you have the absolute best coverage for your E&O. Because let's face it, folks, we make mistakes. There is no perfect appraisal report out there, and we need E&O. We need errors and omission insurance, and OREP is the place to go. Folks, there's a lot of options that you have out there for insurance. OREP is a broker. That means they can broker your application to many different companies. That means they will pick the company that is best suited for you and your situation. Had a prior claim? OREP can take care of it. Absolutely a clean record, OREP can take care of you, and at the least expensive option out there. It's orep.org, OREP.org. DataMaster is helping appraisers to save time, to save in their efficiencies, and to give you more quality. That's because they directly import data that you would normally have to do with human error on your own. DataMaster will save you about 45 minutes per report. Folks, you can't type that fast. One button and it's done. DatamasterUSA.com, DatamasterUSA.com. Finally, we're sponsored by Alamode. Alamode, of course, is helping appraisers to save time and energy on all types of platforms, including Titan Office, including Titan Reports, including Alamode software and Total and mobile. And I can go on and on and on. Folks, this is where you need to be if you are going to become a real estate appraiser. Check them out. Go to alamode.com or 800-ALAMODE. Welcome back to the program, everyone. Dustin Harris hanging out with you, talking about the question on the table of should you become a real estate appraiser, or more specifically, is it a bad time to become a real estate appraiser? I would think that many people that are skeptical of appraising, and I'm talking about appraisers here, those that are skeptical of those trying to come into the career. And by the way, I've heard this conversation play out both online and in person many, many times. An individual is considering becoming an appraiser, and literally they're saying, run, please, whatever you do, you can do anything in the world, don't do this, it's not worth it. There's so many hard things about this appraisal business. Don't do it. Well, folks, I'm sorry, but I'm going to take the other road on this one. I absolutely love what I do. I've told you the story of when I ran into my buddy from high school, and I hadn't seen him in 20 years. And I was out doing an appraisal, and there was someone out there pumping the septic tank. And again, you know what? There's a job for everyone out there. I gave you the example of my uncle who basically worked at a garbage dump and absolutely loved it. And so just because he was pumping septics doesn't mean it's a quote-unquote crappy job, but and I talked to him for a little bit, and frankly, just his attitude. In the first 7 seconds of the conversation, I could tell that he did not like what he did. He felt like it was a dead-end job. It was dirty. It was nasty. I mean, he's dealing with human waste all day long. And by the way, he was being paid $16 an hour. He told me that at the time of the conversation. At least that's what's in my head. It wasn't a lot. It wasn't over 20. I can tell you that. And here he is 20 years out of high school and still kind of in a challenging job. And, I didn't tell him what I make. But I did tell him a little bit about what I do, and I drove away from that conversation thinking, wow, I really do love what I do. And again, I don't mean to compare us to others. You can do that all day long. Okay, would you rather be a lawyer or would you rather be an appraiser? Would you rather be a CPA or appraiser? Would you rather run a garbage dump or be an appraiser? We could do this all day long, right? And it's not fair because everybody has their own personality and their own way of doing things. I absolutely love coaching, and I've talked to other people that say that would terrify me. I would never turn on a microphone and start talking, but it's something I love to do. Obviously, over 500 episodes in the can, as Tim Anderson says, I must love to hear the sound of my own voice, which is not true, Tim. But nonetheless, I do love to put my opinions out there, and I do love to share with my fellow appraisers information that I feel can be helpful and buoy up them in their education and their ability to make more money. I absolutely thrive on that. But some people would not. And so I don't think it's fair to go in and describe or compare, if you will, real estate appraising to other careers, because there's a lot of information and attitude and personality and lifestyle and all kinds of things, time and money and relationships. So much goes into a decision like that. But folks, let's just deal with the question on the table in front of us. Is it a bad time to get into real estate appraisal? Now, for those on the other side of the aisle, and I'll just tell you, if I haven't made it clear up front, I'll wrap the bow off that present right now. And the answer, in my opinion, is yes, it's absolutely a good time to get into real estate appraising. But those that are on the other side of that aisle, those that would say, no, it's a bad time to get into real estate appraisal, I would assume that, and it's not just an assumption, I've heard these arguments used, right? They will cite low fees. We are not paid customary and reasonable fees. It's the AMC's fault. And by the way, there's at least a little bit of truth in all of this stuff, right? I'm not just making this stuff up. And I'm not saying there's just truth in the fact that they have used these arguments. There's actually truth in the arguments themselves. There's a reason they're using these arguments. Okay, there are some, say, AMCs out there that don't pay customary and reasonable fee. Some? What are you talking about, Dustin? Don't you mean all? Well, no. I mean, I work for some pretty good AMCs. I really do. And I work for some mediocre AMCs, and I don't work for some really crappy AMCs that I know don't pay customary and reasonable fees. But that's one of the arguments that's made. Don't get into this career because you're not going to be paid well. Another argument is you're not in control of your own time. I work 70, 80, 90 hours a week sometimes. I don't have my weekends. I don't have my evenings. I don't have control over all of this because I've got to do this kind of volume because the fees are so low. And if I don't do this kind of volume, then I don't pay my bills. And if I don't pay my bills, then there's other consequences. And the arguments go on and on and on. And again, I'm not discounting the arguments. Don't misunderstand me. They are true and accurate for that individual. Right? And there's other things as well. The hoops that you got to jump to get into this career. The endless revision requests, right? All of these scope of work changes that are coming from our clients because they don't necessarily like this, that, or the other. Dealing with real estate agents, and sometimes, I hate to say it, but sometimes real estate agents, again, I'm just going to use that word over and over again, sometimes have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder and maybe think that they're better than an appraiser. I don't know. I've experienced a little bit of that. Thankfully, not a lot of that. But the idea that you're working far too many hours for far little pay, or the oversight and the regulation coming from the state boards, that we live in fear of our mailbox, as you've heard me use that term before. If we ever get a letter that looks like it might be the seal for the great state of Idaho, and underneath that the Idaho Bureau of Occupational Licenses come in the mail, gulp, what's this, right? There's so many reasons that we can give not to get into this world. And these things, frankly, have changed and gotten in many ways worse over the years. One of the things that we find is that there is a question about the future of real estate appraising. There's great questions as to whether or not appraisers are going to be around down the road. Will AVMs basically take over? Will things like the Zillow's estimate take over the real estate appraisal world? The changes that are happening at Fannie Mae with the new form and the UAD, will there come a point that Fannie Mae will know the value of your home before you go in for a loan? There's many, many questions on the table, but folks, these questions are not new. They might be more poignant. They might have changed slightly over the years. They're not new. I remember when I first got into this, and my first license, by the way, was in 1996. Now, I've been doing appraisal even longer than that because I grew up in an appraiser's home. Can't say that I ever took comp pictures from my dad because, of course, that wouldn't be kosher. But let's just say I drove around with a camera many, many years ago in the 1990s and know a little bit about real estate appraisal, going way, way back. There was a time right after I got my license, I think it was in the early 2000s, that this argument was being made that technology would take over and that appraisers would not have I remember very, very clearly my first conference. It was in Las Vegas years and years and years ago. It was probably 2000, 2001. I don't even remember what group was putting it on, maybe AI or something. I remember going with my dad, and we were in Vegas, and I remember very clearly in the hall talking to a couple of older gentlemen. When I say older, I mean, I was quite young, so maybe they were 50s. I don't know. They seemed old to me. Now that I'm 45, nobody seems old to me anymore. But I remember standing in the hallway where they were talking about AV AVMs, and I had never heard that term. I went through this whole conversation with them as they talked to my dad about AVM this and AVM that, and AVMs are taking over the world. And it took me about 10 minutes into the conversation to realize what an AVM was. Not that I knew what it stood for, but I could kind of tell, well, this is something about technology and computers and being able to put a value on something and basically pushing the appraiser off to the side because we no longer need a human. We can use a robot to get value. In other words, folks, for 20 plus years, this has been a fear that appraisal is going to go away. I was not old enough to remember, but when drive-bys got very, very popular, I remember my dad being a little freaked out that drive-bys would be the end of appraisal. Because if we're not stepping foot in the living room, somehow that's going to make a less credible report, which is going to basically mean that that appraisers will be worthless because, hey, the only thing they're good for is doing the inspection anyway, right? And technology and mobile appraising and lasers and all of this technology that's coming out and so many other things, the customary and reasonable fee thing and so many things, have been brought up over the years as to why appraisal is not the best thing to get into. Now, folks, I don't know. I mean, I don't think you could possibly put up every career side by side and do a pro cons list and come up with the perfect career for everybody. I don't know. But I will tell you this. I absolutely love what I do. I do. I absolutely love what I do. I have opportunities that no other person has. I have complete control. I'm sorry, for those of you who don't think you do, it's because you're not taking control. I have complete control over my schedule. If I want to take off, which I'm going to do this Friday and Saturday, and go up in the hills with my son and go on our annual motorbiking dirt bike trip, I can do that, and I will do that. In fact, I'm considering going up Thursday. I just have to arrange a couple appointments, and I can do it. I mean, this is the freedom and the abilities that I love, and I make very good money as a real estate appraiser. I do. Not just gross, but net. I've got a system that works. I utilize the human resource aspect. I utilize technology. I utilize systems that I have honed, developed, and continue to revise over the years that really work well. They're not perfect, but they really work well. There is a well-oiled machine here at my office that works very, very well. I don't have to get involved very often, and it is awesome, and I love what I do. Folks, I'm sorry. No, I'm not. I'm not going to apologize. If you are an individual who is considering getting into this career, and if you're an individual who has talked to a few appraisers and they say, run, Forrest, run, don't do it. No matter what, don't do it. I would ask that you reconsider that. I would ask that you step back and say, okay, that's one person's opinion. That's a second person's opinion. That's a third person's opinion. It's not everyone's opinion. It's certainly not this out-of-work DJ's opinion. It is my opinion that doing this is absolutely wonderful. Now, are you going to have a challenge finding a mentor? Maybe. There's not a lot of appraisers out there that want to mentor someone else who they see as potential competition down the road. But I'm telling you, folks, there is a way to do it. In fact, I'm going to share with you a product here in a couple of minutes that I think will be beneficial to you. But don't let that stop you. This is a wonderful career. If you have any affinity for making your own way, if you have any affinity for running your own business, if you have any affinity or desire to look further into the real estate world, folks, I shouldn't say that. I would do whatever it takes to feed my family, but I just don't see myself being an agent. I'm not a salesperson. My dad was. My dad was a real estate agent, and I just have no desire to go down that road. But I love real estate. I love real estate. It's very interesting to me. I do a little investing on the side. Finding a place for someone to live and what is the value of that home and the view and the setting and the quality and condition and what's going on in the market. Is it going up? Is it going down? This stuff fascinates me. I absolutely love it. I love the fact that I can run my own business. I love the fact that for the most part, and there's some regulations out there that are challenging, but for the most part, I can decide as a business owner where I want to go and what I want to do with my business. It's an absolutely wonderful career. So, to lay it out and to summarize, is it a bad time to get into real estate appraisal? I would say absolutely not. It's no worse than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, or 24 years ago when I first started, and they said, don't do it. I absolutely love what I do. I see a future for appraisers. Yes, it will be different. Yes, it's not going to be 3 comps and done. It's going to be truly understanding the market. It's going to be showing our value as professionals and why it's so important that people come to us. That's what it's about. Absolutely love what I do, and I think you will too. It is not a bad time to get into real estate appraisal. By the way, if you're interested, here's that course that I recently recorded. I think it's like a 14-session course. This is an intensive thing, folks. This is not a Thursday afternoon webinar. This is an intensive course on how to become a real estate appraiser. It is on my website right now. And folks, I'm telling you, it's an investment in your future, especially for those of you who have tried and not been successful in finding a mentor. Okay? This course is really for 2 people. Well, 3 people. Those that are considering and know almost nothing about real estate appraisal have not really dove in. That's number 1. Okay? This course is for you. Number 2, if you are a trainee, maybe you've got your licensing, but you can't find a mentor. I will teach you and almost guarantee you to get a mentor if you go through this course. Yeah, I didn't stutter there. I said almost because there's things that you've got to do on your side. I'm confident if you follow the steps in this course, you will find a mentor. Let's put it that way. Okay, let's take the word almost out. If you follow step by step everything in this course, you will find a mentor. Absolutely guaranteed. Okay. And number 3, it's for individuals that are currently with a mentor and are looking to develop their business mind so they know what to do with that license once it comes. Those are the 3 people that this is perfect for. Now, this can be used by any appraiser. There's some great principles of good business sense in there, but this is truly targeted to those that want to become appraisers. And by the way, it may be costly, okay, but I will give you $100 off, okay, $100 off if you will use this coupon code at checkout. So go to my website, theappraisercoach.com, click on products, scroll down to courses. This is very easy. Find the one on how to become a real estate appraiser and use the coupon code TRAINEE100 when you check out. That's all caps. That's spelled out TRAINEE and then the number 100. TRAINEE100 for $100 off this amazing course. We'll see you there.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.
All of this technology that's coming out and so many other things, the customary reasonable thing,